Oh boy, it is finally here, and I am so excited.
So this is
Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit is finally making.
so what we're hearing right now is the haters version of Rip Ride Rockit. I don't know. I need to understand why. So this is the haters version of Rip Ride Rockit. I want to
its
hear
way
this
to the
guy's
trash
hate.
heap, and it couldn't come soon enough.
This guy
From the
hates.
beginning,
Just from hearing this guy, he hates Rip Ride Rockit. I don't know.
this coaster
Goddamn.
always struck me as a ripoff of Rock and Roller Coaster from Disney's Hollywood Studios, which it was, and
Okay.
paired with its rough layout and
Okay. So Ooh, what happened? So this guy was a Disney adult.
roller coaster from Disney's Hollywood Studios, which it was, and paired with its rough layout and awful train design, is, I think, easily the worst roller coaster in the state of Florida. Now, I've certainly experienced worse, much worse, and in comparison to what you might potentially find at a local regional amusement park, this is probably better. But when you're a high-demand tourist destination like Universal Studios, Rip Ride Rockit just isn't gonna cut it. Universal first embraced large thrill coasters in 1999 with the opening of Islands of Adventure, premiering with the Incredible Hulk,
Incredible Hulk,
and Dueling
yep.
Dragons.
Dueling Dragon. This guy probably was more fascinated with Dueling Dragons than Rip Ride Rockit. I don't blame him on that one, but let's hear this guy's world.
What made them notable other than their theming, and in the case of Dueling Dragons, its dueling aspect, was that the coasters were designed with aesthetic placement and visual kineticism in mind.
Plus, it was a themed roller coaster. It was a original ride. Man, you don't think Rip Ride Rockit was an original ride itself? Sure, man. It was dedicated to something. But I'll explain. I'll respond to this guy once before I watch more of this video.
The way that the Hulk launches you over the pathway and out into the lagoon still resonates really well. And Universal has really embraced this with their newer additions too, ensuring that each new coaster is a visual spectacle that plays with the landscape. For all the flaws of Rocket, at the very least, I think it has become iconic for the skyline of Universal Studios Florida, and plays well visually with City Walk. Its striking red color certainly draws your attention, but is never garish, and the movement of the trains adds a lot to the park, especially during night with its strobing light effect.
Oh yes.
That's where the positives stop though, as the coaster premiered during what I would call the cursed era of Universal Studios Florida. Starting in 2008 with the Simpsons ride,
Oh yeah.
and
they
ending
did
in
that.
2018 with Fast and Furious
God,
Supercharged.
I swear, Fast and Furious was such dog shit. It's such dog shit. I'm sorry. Take out that Universal Studio, that ride. Please, just do that.
This period for the park is what transformed it into the mess that it is today, replacing outdated but classic rides in favor of screen-based attractions that, for the most part,
that's
are generally considered to be either underwhelming or just straight up bad.
Jimmy Fallon is pointless, dog. Jimmy Fallon is the most pointless thing ever, bro. I mean, even the opening the ride of Jimmy Fallon, they're just like, "Yo, what was that?" Right? And like, even the guest that rode with Jimmy Fallon the ride, literally on the TV said, "Bro, I'm hella disappointed."
In this mess of a roller coaster, you've solidified this era as being a massive misstep in the history of the park. Now granted, while 2019 seemed to be the turning point for Universal creatively with the premiere of Hagrid's at Islands, which was followed by other excellent additions in Hollywood and with the international parks, it appears that Universal Studios Florida is still suffering under the curse of bad attractions. Despite its creative ride system, Villain Con Minion Blast is one of the worst rides that I've ever experienced.
It was not even a ride.
DreamWorks Lands is clearly cheap and rushed, likely constrained by the budget for the creative triumph that is Epic Universe.
Yes.
However, now that that park is open, I'm hoping that the studios finally gets the investment that it needs. But with the surprising, unexpected closure of Rocket, I'm hoping that's the start of a new era that will bring the park back to greatness. So today, let's dive into a retrospective on Florida's absolutely worst roller coaster and see how it had so much potential that was just
This guy
completely
hates
thrown
this
away.
ride with a passion. God damn. So Poseidon Entertainment probably was I kind of introduced to Poseidon Entertainment. He did known YouTube videos, known his own indie documentary upon theme parks that were better in the 90s here in Orlando, especially other parks, theme parks out there in the United States and around the world. He did that. He did many of those. He is quite famous about, and I think a few others too, Six Flags too. The kind of like debunction or mystery parts too. But he was more known about theme parks were better in the 90s than today, that kind of stuff. He's very critical. He's very critical of theme parks.
Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit opened on August 19th, 2009. It was manufactured by Maurer Sohn. There's a weird misconception online that Maurer went out of business, a point that I admittedly believe I may have actually parroted somewhere in an old video from 4 or 5 years ago. But while the company did change its name to Maurer AG in 2014, it's still very much in business and producing new coasters. I mention this point because people have speculated that Rip Ride Rockit is closing because Universal is no longer able to acquire parts from Maurer, but that's clearly not the case. What makes Rockit interesting is that the coaster type is quite rare, and is known as the X-Car model. These were developed by Maurer with the intention of redefining the industry, in that while coasters with inversions used over-the-shoulder restraints to safely secure riders, the X-Car would do it with a lap bar instead. The first version of this model premiered in 2003 with Skywheel at Skyline Park.
Dude,
What made it notable was its vertical lift hill that transitions slowly into an upside-down lift that brings riders to the top. Maurer built a few other versions of this model, with G-Force at Drayton Manor being a notable 2005 premiere with its bizarre lift hill through a loop.
Yo, the European roller
While
coaster
the restraint system for the X-Car was definitely innovative, as the restraint bar secured riders by holding them in by their stomach, it's just downright uncomfortable, which combines with the awkward coaster.
Bro, give me that. Give me that. I want it uncomfortable. I want it crazy. I want it insane. Give me that ride, man. Give me that goddamn ride. Nah, that is a trip. That ride's a trip.
Elements and layouts led to a model that never really caught on despite its novelty. However, Universal took a chance with Maurer and contracted them for Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit, which took the X-Car and added a touchpad to the restraint where riders could choose a song that synced with the ride layout. The theme of Rockit is straightforward, as it celebrates music, and riders are essentially put into the role of filming a music video. Choosing from 5 different genres on the touchpad, each menu had a list of 5 songs that were licensed and could be attached to a music video souvenir that was filmed by cameras on the ride. There is also a secret menu that can be accessed, where after inputting a code, riders can experience what I believe is at least another 60 song selections, although these are not licensed and can't be used for the video. While the ability to choose your song is unique, even if you stick to the original 30 that it presents you with, Rockit always gave me the impression of being a lesser, derivative version of Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios.
The difference is that Rock and Roller Coaster is the original, because Disney was the first one to actually do music within the audio, or maybe I'm wrong. But this Rock and Roller Coaster with Disney was the first one. And what's to say too that when Universal opened Hollywood Dream in Japan, they would do the same thing with the same part. I mean, the difference between that is it's just technology. That's it. I mean, you get to choose your song. While Hot Rock and Roller Coaster, the song is whatever the manufacturer plays. Whatever the coaster plays, you listen to it. That's it. That's the same. I mean, that's like saying that if I'm making a ride like Jurassic Park at a theme park in Portaventura in Spain, right? But I wanted to put a simple put a different touch to it, but yet again then I'm being called that, oh, that's copying Jurassic Park at the same time. It's like saying that. It's like I built a ride because Jurassic Park did it, and I want to but I want to claim as different, even though that's what's basically confusing what I'm saying to myself. That's kind of like a little hypocritical because you know many rides wanted to copy Rocket Roller Coaster. Many companies looked up to Disney.
I think that might be lost on people today, but for 2009, the existence of a roller coaster with synchronized audio was still very new and novel. Space Mountain from the Earth to the Moon at Disneyland Paris was the first to premiere with a soundtrack in 1995, which was then followed a few months later with new trains and a soundtrack for the version of Space Mountain in the original California Disneyland. In 1999, Rock and Roller Coaster opened at Disney MGM Studios with its trains synced to Aerosmith, and for most people, this was their first and only experience with music on a roller coaster until the last 15 years or so. That's why, at the time of the premiere of Rocket, it very much felt like Universal's misguided, derivative take on Rock and Roller Coaster, which, along with its bare-bones theming and outdoor layout, felt lazy and failed to understand what made Disney's coaster so appealing with its indoor location and theming.
No, I think its theming, it was trying to represent Universal's like music from their records, because Universal Music Group is part of that brand, Universal. Now you can say whatever he can say whatever he says. I don't think about that, bro. Like he said, it's poorly made. I mean, they say, oh, it was built just to like kind of like appease things, man. I mean, this guy's just criticizing, that. Yeah, he may have a point. Yeah, like there's not actual theming of like a music based coaster with just like a Disney's Hollywood Studios Rock and Roller Coaster. But I wouldn't say that the if you go to Disneyland Paris where they had the same design. I mean, imagine Rip Ride Rockit was an indoor roller coaster and one with his theming. It could have gone that way. I think the main thing that he's probably criticized about it is that there wasn't really more decoration. I think that's what my opinion is.
The option to have a large song selection was certainly unique, and I don't believe that feature has been replicated anywhere else. But along with feeling gimmicky and having almost no theming, it had one other big problem: the layout.
No, the layout. They talk about the layout. Let's hear this guy. Let's hear this motherfucker's opinion about this layout. Remember, this is the haters. This is a hater of Rip Ride Rockit.
After moving through the queue and boarding the train on a belt in the station, riders ascend the 167-foot tall vertical lift hill, which, if you watch the channel on the regular, you'll know that I absolutely hate. Not only do I find vertical lifts to be extremely uncomfortable, but the first time I experienced this ride, I remember the sun being directly overhead, which was absolutely blinding. After cresting the top, the train drops into a non-inverting loop over the Universal Music Plaza stage, which is known as the double take, establishing that the ride's elements and layout is themed to music. I think that despite the execution, which is made unpleasant by the style of trains that lead to the rough experience, the layout is at least notably clever, so I'll give it credit there. Pulling up out of the double take, the train crosses a brake run and dives into the next segment.
Oh yes, I think that's
crashing
why.
through a facade and
I think his hate. I think this dude's hate for Rip Ride Rockit was the stop blocks. I think that's what it is. This guy's hate for Rip Ride Rockit is the stop blocks.
looping up to the left, the train moves through the treble clef, an element designed to resemble the actual musical symbol used in sheet music. It doesn't really follow the shape well at all, but I at least appreciate the creativity. Moving through another brake run directly under the first, riders travel into a section of banked turns that goes behind the stage and over the queue, which is named as the jump cut. Ascending into the third brake run, the track moves out into City Walk, where it dives into a winding trench. Pulling up into an inclined loop, the train exits and enters the fourth brake run, which then transitions into a curvy hill that bucks riders out of the seat before encountering the final brakes right at the station. While my description of the layout is rather brief, the ride time clocks in at around 2 minutes, as you spend roughly 30 seconds on the vertical lift, and many of the elements are long and winding. While the layout of Rockit is clever and quite unique, the X cars are what hold it back from being great. Because the restraint holds you in by your stomach rather than your lap, the forces generated from the layout often throw riders from their seat, where they then slam down on their crotch. Or riders are sometimes thrown forward, pushing their stomach into the restraint.
If you want to feel more airtime in roller coasters like Rip Ride Rockit or Velocicoaster, just lock your legs tight on the seat, cleaning highly on the seat and behind the wall. I've done that. I had mad airtime, and that's because your whole muscles for dear life, and you get dizzy. And I passed out on that. I definitely passed out on that without any signs of sadness,
which can knock the wind out of you a bit. Unfortunately, while Maurer was trying to revolutionize the industry, their trains are just so uncomfortable that the model never really got more than a few coasters past Rockit, and for Universal, they were now stuck with a ride that never really lived up to its potential. Rockit is also infamous for technical issues, as I feel like there's always an annual news report about how people got stuck sitting on the lift hill for hours, and I've even seen a few photos and video of the trains valleying, which appears to happen every so often. In 2020, for Universal's Christmas celebration, which allowed people to view the Macy's Holiday Parade floats in one of the sound stages, I recall actually walking through a queue that went under the track. However, it was clear that a train had valleyed there with a tarp thrown over it, which I guess doesn't really hide the problem, but I did think was funny. From my observation, the ride seems to go down often, and I've noticed that while other Universal coasters will stay open in the rain if there's no lightning, Rockit always seems to close, indicating that even some rain and wind can cause issues.
Maybe it's because of the music. They don't want the touchpad to be damaged, and the whole roller coaster is kind of break down on that because the roller coaster has the touch screens to play the songs. That's one thing, that on the other hand for that.
When it was announced that the coaster would be closing, I was actually quite surprised, because despite its notorious roughness, it wasn't really what I thought the park would prioritize replacing. Still, considering the frequent closures and the very visible technical issues, I think the demolition does make sense. Part of why I also thought that the closure of Rockit was strange was because, while people within the theme park and coaster community agree that the experience is quite rough, it's still quite popular with the general public. How often have I read about the experiences of people who thought the lift hill was terrible?
It was very popular. I wanted to ride that ride when I was 13 years old. I remember when I was seeing the commercials of it. I was very young. I never had the chance in my life actually riding that ride. I never actually had the chance of it until now. Until the last days. And I decided whenever I go back to Universal, I am not going to ride any of the other rides that I'm familiar with. I'm going to simply ride Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit. And that's what I did. And thank God I rode Rip Ride Rockit. I mean, I probably understand his hate against his, of his ride because it always breaks down. But every roller coaster breaks down. When Walt Disney opened in 1955, you probably have heard of this thousands and thousands of times, and I too probably have heard this thousands and thousands of times with many theme park enthusiasts, right? Especially Disney adults to these Gen X, lovers out there. You probably will never hear this response, but many rides broke down. When it first opened, we all knew it broke down. When SeaWorld brought out Kraken, it went good, but then it also broke down for a bit. When Space Mountain or Expedition Everest came up, it was good, but it also broke down too. Every theme park breaks down. Rip Ride Rockit, without a doubt. Epic Universe definitely has broken down. But you know what? I don't think it mattered to anybody. I don't think it mattered to anybody because the the iconicacy of for being lasting for 16 years. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I won't judge Men in Black Alien Attack, for which that ride has been existing for far much longer than Rip Ride Rockit. That's a known fact. And that ride, E.T. and Men in Black Alien Attack, Jurassic Park, the River Adventure, Spider-Man, those guys have been around for quite a very long time. But it's surprising to me that that yeah, Rip Ride Rockit, has been around for 16 years, which is quite a time. It's quite a time, and I think it's meant to be respected. It's meant to be respected, even if it had its own f ups. I won't judge it for on this occasion. I mean, because it had brought a lot of people around.
Terrifying were that they were proud of themselves for going on the first upside down roller coaster, despite it not actually having a single inversion. I've seen a lot of people asking for advice on Universal subreddits about how to conquer their fear of it, and a lot of others exclaiming how much fun it is and how they loved that they got to choose a song. Do I think it's awful? Yes. But the average person who visits the park isn't going to understand the nuance of what.
Maybe because at the time when they put that inverted loop, it was most likely because, look, you may have ridden or understand Son of Beast. That is in Six Flags or in Hershey Park, somewhere on one of those parks. Though Son of Beast was somewhere. I don't know what park that is. It was Son of Beast before it closed down because it had a loop. It had a loop. Um, at the time, honestly, they did it that inverted loop. Yeah, it was to look cool, but maybe I think it was also in their close-mindedness at the time. It was kind of feared that an upside down loop with a safety bar would have put them upside down. That was at the time. They didn't think about that. They thought, okay, let's just make something a cool loop, Like you put like an upside down loop, but it was also kind of like corkscrewy with it. So kind of like make it, like cool and safe. Yes, I get it. On your behalf, yeah, Poseidon, I understand. It probably to you was like it's just corny. It was the corniest way to do it. But at their world, hey, safety is safety for at that time. They wanted to look cool, but also safe for a crazy ass thrill ride. That was the thought process. It wasn't that was their idea, unless they thought the same way in Europe. Man, you know how America is. American rides are not as crazy as hell as European rides. European rides are off the fucking hook, dog.
What makes for a good coaster? And for most people, the adrenaline surge or the social aspect of riding is what makes it appealing. I would say that it's actually still quite popular and well liked, despite the reservations of critics. And so, I have to conclude that the technical issues are a big part of what is driving the replacement.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly obvious that Rockit is going to be replaced by another coaster, as there's not much else you can do with this footprint of the park. And even from early construction, which has occurred before the coaster is closed, you can see that Universal is very ready to replace it quickly.
Make a decision.
God, this ass, assholes.
I think that with Epic sucking up so much budget from other projects, which is evident through the cheap nature of VillainCon and DreamWorks Land, a new, quick coaster replacement is actually a budget-conscious decision. Not that coasters don't cost between 20.
I mean, bro, Universal Studios need some. They need a glow up. On God, like Universal, you need a glow up. I mean, take out Supercharge, take out Jimmy Fallon, put some new coasters in there. You could do an indoor-outdoor roller coaster like Tron Light Cycle Bike in Magic Kingdom. Do that. You need some rides, man. You need some rides. Or at least more screen roller coaster rides. Well, not actual simulators. No. That's too much. But, Universal's about riding the movies. You give them that.
To $30 million to build today, but compared to complex dark rides, it's actually a relatively cheap return on investment, especially since coasters are almost always a big, marketable draw. Alicia Stella at Theme Park Stop has also reported the rumor that the replacement may be themed to Fast and Furious, which, considering that she also reported on documents that state that the manufacturer is Intamin, I think that very well could indicate that it's the same model of coaster that's being built in California as Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift. She also made the point that the new coaster corresponded with the closing of the Fast and Furious segment on the tram tour, and it may not be a stretch to assume that the same may occur in Florida. If this is true, while I think that the park is in desperate need of quality dark rides to replace a lot of its simulators, the new coaster could be the first step in allowing that to happen. At the very least, I anticipate a coaster layout that's far more interesting and comfortable than Rocket, and while I will miss what it does for the skyline of the park, I can't say that I have any other reservations about its closure. I'm excited for what this could mean for the future of Universal Studios Florida, where the curse might finally be broken, and I'm just so glad to see Rocket gone. It's a coaster with a notable music-themed layout.
God damn, you hate this ride, don't you?
That's held back by awful train design, and while the feature to pick your song for the ride was quite unique, it was always a gimmick that tried to copy the success of what Disney pioneered, throwing away the potential for this coaster to do something that could have been more unique.
I would miss these art styles, honestly. I would honestly miss this guy's art styles. I mean, our American art styles, we've been losing this. These are comic book styles, and we've been shitting with animation styles that don't look like this. We need more of this, man.
I think that literally any other theme that they could have come up with would have been more interesting. So, goodbye, Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit. Your closure couldn't have come soon enough. I actually anticipate that this video may be quite divisive, especially since general parkgoers do seem to like this coaster despite its many clear faults. But if you agree with me, or at the very least want to support the channel, I would appreciate it if you left a like.
Yeah. Despite its technical difficulties that it always had, I never had any hate with it, honestly. I never had any hate with it. Yes, it did. Yes, it did have problems. It had many problems. All rides have problems. Every ride has problems. Fucking, the best coaster in Orlando out there had problems. Let's see this. Bro, that's the coaster that I believe dislodged my kidney stone. Rest in pieces. God damn. Daru Sandstorm and Humble by Kendrick Lamar playing and screaming. My left stroke just went viral. Such an experience I'll never. I have to respectfully disagree that Rip Ride Rockit is the worst roller coaster in Florida. Yes. The Mind Blower was made by mom's Apple Watch. My mom's Apple Watch called 911 for thinking she was in a car crash. Oh yeah, the Mind Blower by my mom's. Oh yeah, in an expression like that. Choosing the right song to make such an impact on this ride. I vividly remember riding this with Kickstart. Yeah, a lot of fun. Goes to show how important on-ride soundtrack can be. Yes, because it's interactive. That's my honest opinion. That Rip Ride Rockit would never be hated, honestly, because since Disney did Rock and Roller Coaster. The main difference between Rock and Roller Coaster, because since it was the first one, and Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit, says yes, Rip Ride Rockit is not as equivalent because Rock and Roller Coaster is. Let me rephrase this. Because yes, Rock and Roller Coaster is the OG of audio implemented roller coasters, right? Especially with Space Mountain. Disney first pioneered that. What Disney didn't do was the ability to choose the songs interactively as Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit. Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit is just new. It wasn't just a ripoff. It was new. But that was portraying for Rock and Roller Coaster. But what made it better than Rock and Roller Coaster, honestly, was the interaction that you could play the music that you choose in that roller coaster, like Daru Sandstorm, Daft Punk, to Kendrick Lamar, to Linkin Park. They could put in Limp Bizkit, Hollywood Undead, to jazz, to disco music. They had all these different varieties, and hey, that's what made it iconic. Yes, they had difficulties. Yes, it did. Did it broke down? Yes, it did. Hulk roller coaster did broke down at times, much like Rock and Roller Coaster had did broken down many times too. Many rides breaking down, and honestly, that ride was very iconic to everyone's well-being for that. So I think that's it for now. For the stream. I hope you guys liked it. What I say. All my reviews. Also, I want to bring out another kind of like kind of stuff to bring it out as well. I'll uploaded a few more videos into this, but we hope we see each other the next time, and we see each other another day, another night, maybe Wednesday, maybe who knows. I'm Element Reptile. I'm your artist. I hope we see you. I hope I try to complete this as well for the time being, man.